Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? Is this working? All right. In the words of Ashanti in the 90s, I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. So thank you for joining me today. Today we're having an esports and gaming panel. I'm really excited to be here. I actually published an article recently about play to earn and how it's giving an opportunity to a lot of young people in the space who are entering the industry to play games and actually make an income. And I think a lot of the volume that we're seeing on layer ones is coming from gaming, and it's become kind of a portal for a new generation to enter the crypto space. So I do think gaming space is very significant, and we have two panelists that are joining me on stage today. If you can come and join me. Yes, please. I'm going to sit over here. Yeah, I'm joining you. Awesome. So we're going to start with quick introductions from the panelists. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the project that you're working on in gaming.
Rico Pang from Sanctum Global Ventures. We are an investor, incubator, and accelerator in the space. We have been investing a lot into NFTs and gaming sector and esports over the last 3 years. One of the most exciting investments are YGG. And Axie Infinity, as everyone knows it. And recently, we are working very closely to incubate a project, NFT marketplace on esports and sports, mainly which is called eSporrts.
Awesome, thank you. Mende, good to see you again.
Yes. Yeah, well, I'm Matthias Mendy, working with the Dubai Blockchain Center, building Bonus Market. I did invest in some earn-to-play platforms, play to earn, and I believe there's a good future, and I think these business models need to come out more.
Yeah.
And let's talk about them.
So let's backtrack a little bit, right? So Bitcoin obviously started 08, 09. 09 we had the first block minted, and it was really originally being given away in games as rewards, right? That was like the first adoption of cryptocurrency, right? And now we're fast forwarding 13 years later, and we have all kinds of rewards on different blockchains. We have play to earn. We have you can rent assets. What are some of the biggest trends that you've seen in 2021 in gaming on blockchain that are new this year that you haven't seen before?
So I think this year has been a very challenging time for the market, especially we saw a bear market and we are coming back after that. The gaming industry, on the other hand, was not affected by this. We see more and more gaming, and especially AAA level gaming companies, publishing companies coming into this space. They realize, wow, this is a new industry that we have been tapped into, and we see a lot of new game publishers building a lot of exciting NFTs platforms and marketplace and business model relating to blockchain and NFTs. So that is a very encouraging thing for the whole industry. On our end, we are looking into more than 30 deal flows along this sector with the top game publishers. At the same time, structuring the tokenomics for them and the business model for them. We announcing quite a few of our private rounds and seed rounds on this sort of deal flows. So it's a very exciting time for us because we saw what was happening with YGG and Axie Infinity's a number of X that have grown in such short period of time. The adoption went viral with the kids, the Gen Z, so to speak, or Gen Y, or even some of our old age boomers playing games. It's for all ages. So the gaming industry, is for all ages. And most of us who have been playing games since we were young are so prone to this, and we will still play the games. And the rewarding system has changed significantly from play to earn to pay to earn. And now, just moving towards different models such as, invest to earn as well. So most of them are actually staking and not to say betting, but actually hedging to gain more things. So a lot of other gamification model is coming out. So the sports industry are also jumping into the wagon where they are incorporating some of this traditional business model into the blockchain and crypto space. I think that will be driving a lot of I think easily in the next couple of months or to a year or two, we have easily a few hundred new projects coming out of this specific industry. I believe in next month when we are in Sigma in Malta, we will see most of them there as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost like if we look back to when the app craze started 10, 20 years ago, right? It was the Candy Crush and all the little games that people used to put on their phones, and that's how we got the adoption curve going before we really hit the enterprise adoption.
That's correct, but in these games, you pay money for goods to continue playing, like in Candy Crush. Sometimes you play, and then you go on the next level, then it stops, unless you pay by some coins. They're not even on the blockchain. But let me tell you something very interesting. When I was 16 years old, 21 years ago, I used to play a game called Diablo 2. And in this time, there was obviously no blockchain invented. And the products, like the weapons in this game, because it's similar like World of Warcraft, I used to sell them on eBay. And with PayPal, this was way in the beginning. I left this to go to other businesses, but if I would have continued like Brock Pierce with World of Warcraft, because that's where he made his money with the gold. So this is also actually play to earn, but in this time nobody even thought really about that.
So because my business partner Dunstan is an OG and he's also a professional gamer, those days when it first started, I was told that actually they sold a lot of game account skins or weapons whatsoever using Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And they were doing it before when Bitcoin even started with other digital currencies. But then in the end, Bitcoin became a mainstream used by them and some of the OGs in the gaming sector, and then the hackers and the rest came in. But to create the adoption of Bitcoin, they actually gave up a lot of Bitcoins to people to create the adoption. So then you can't have these stories about people buying pizzas using Bitcoin because it's an extension of what was happening. Giving out the Bitcoins itself actually created the usage and utility of it over the time. So it's happening now in most of the gamification model. We start by giving them certain tokens to spend as point system or so ever it is, credit system. And then that will create more adoption and usability and the conditioning of using the token to play games, right? And right now we're seeing a lot of NFTs development. A lot of NFTs are much more interactive rather than just an image or interactive image. There will be a lot of upcoming games where you can input the athletes or the users' experience as a data into the NFTs and unlocking different skill sets along the way by creating the interactive, and it will be on augmented reality, virtual reality. So this sort of business model is upcoming. We see a lot of game publishers adopting this, making it the experience for gamers much more real and much more, exciting.
Yeah, let's talk about the metaverse for a second. That's the new trend. Mark Zuckerberg announced that he wants to be known for the metaverse, and that's going to be the next big thing that he builds. And I'm still trying to grasp what that looks like. People say we're living in a simulation, but it looks like we're actually going to be entering a simulation where the delineation between life and what in a game will be very confusing and very fluid.
So I think the easiest layman term for the audience is that look at the movie Real Player One, mm-hmm. or you can look at the movie Matrix, mm-hmm. And that is something that we are looking at in the next 5 to 10 years, and that's what the space is heading towards, building the metaverse world, where it will be seamlessly integrated to the physical world. And maybe some people cannot differentiate the difference anymore. They may be living in a virtual world, doing their work and business and having a life in the virtual world. At the same time, things are still happening in the physical world. It could be a copy of you. It could be an AI version of you doing certain services for people. And people will know whether it's a real or fake person. That will be the future where I think the metaverse will be developing towards. On our end, we are investing into properties, real estates, and we are building towards a conscious city concept where this virtual metaverse should be built for people to empower people. Many of the smart cities that we know of that was built by the governments are designed to control people, to monitor people. And that's why a lot of people are not going to live there and are rejecting the idea due to all these details on how it was being designed and architect. We are all lobbying for a conscious city because consciously we need to design based on people's need and focusing on the need of people.
Yeah.
Well, what Rico says is completely I agree, especially with Ready Player One and Matrix. I could go so deep in this, but before going deep, in Bonus, for example, we also have in the third phase a metaverse, and there actually we're planning to clone time, to give the celebrities more time by copying them into the metaverse and them giving the people, their fans or whoever likes to join them, the opportunity to learn from them, to copy and paste tutorials, classes, learning courses on them. Because we believe also that in the metaverse there can be a lot of fun, but also a lot of impact. Because now if you have these rappers who rap about like criminal things and young people who are not very well educated following those things, they might end up doing bad things and they don't like the teachers in the school. But now imagine if the gangster rapper can be their math teacher, their history class teacher, and teach them straight. I believe that the kids would even give them much more respect. So there's a big future coming in so many aspects, especially with the metaverse. Just the question is, what will be the metaverse standard? Since Mark Zuckerberg also is kind of building one, and Facebook, it's like the super monster, there must be a standard metaverse, because it's like a world, like GTA, for example, is also just like a game, and we can enter through GTA, but we cannot enter GTA through another game like Call of Duty, for example. So there should be some type of standard, and who will regulate this?
I think generally speaking, we're seeing one of the big trends this year is cross-chain compatibility. So I could imagine in the metaverse at some point in the future, we can hop from metaverse to metaverse, from game to game, and it's just as easy as opening a door and walking through it. Could be something like that.
I think the issue we all face in the industry is the infrastructure layer, where there are still a lot of bottlenecks in the infrastructure of a blockchain as a core, and which is why we will see a lot of new blockchains, layer 1 and 2, coming up, dedicated just for the metaverse world. That will be able to scale the blockchain that we need to have to build this our infrastructure as an infrastructure layer. Even for smart cities, there's still a lot of conceptual and a lot of hurdles to make it happen. So which is why most of the smart cities we see now are so basic. A lot of things can't be realized yet due to these bottlenecks in the tech space. So as a whole industry, we need to look at the root of the issue on the infrastructure layer of the technology, telcos, and also the transparency of regulations on protecting people's privacy and data. If people put their life into the internet, who owns the data? And many countries have different regulations around this, and that has to be resolved first as a root issue, and then we can move on to put more data onto it. Otherwise, I think people will be quite receptive on not putting a lot of our personal data online.
There's so much in what you just said. There's a few questions I want to ask. So you've mentioned layer ones, and I think what we're seeing right now, especially in the last month, is we're seeing like a heating up of the war between layer ones, right? Obviously, you have Ethereum, but then you have Solana, you have Phantom pushing, you have Algorand, you have Avalanche, and a few others. What ecosystems are you bullish on for the gaming space specifically?
Definitely, I am bullish on Solana. And why is that? Because the block time, it's 400 milliseconds, so it's instant, and the transactions doesn't cost money. But then you have layer 2s like Polygon and so on, who are pretty much the same. So there is definitely a big war happening. But for me, Solana, it needs to be fast and free.
Yeah.
There'll be more coming along the way. More will join the war, so to speak. And we encourage that, we embrace that, we look forward to that because we are always looking for disruptions as a team of these conferences. And we welcome, more entrepreneurs building more disruptive tech along this industry. I agree with what Mandy said earlier on. Like currently, this is the major war between them, and this is the strength and weaknesses of every layer 1, layer 2. But we still need more because it's still not enough to accommodate the industry at this point in time.
Sure. Guys, prediction time. 5 years down the road, what does the crypto and blockchain space look like?
I think in 5 years, the word blockchain will not be used anymore. Why? Because every blockchain will mature in such a way that blockchain will be just a feature of any application or anything what's happening. It's like a trust emblem, that there is no corruption happening, that humans can't manually change things. Because I believe everything will be instant. So that's my view.
Absolutely.
My view, just a disclaimer, not for financial advice. Well, Bitcoin price will be exceeding 1 million
for
in
sure.
less than 5 years from now.
I agree with you, by the way. I totally agree with you.
And what about the rest of the other altcoins, right?
Yeah.
It will follow through as well. And there'll be new ecosystem, new technologies. There will be, much better than what we have now, 5 years from now for sure. We'll be looking at much more different lifestyle and behavior of people, especially the digital nomad space, where they'll be doing a lot of innovations and things will move very quickly. The space in our space now is moving very quickly already, but I think it'll be much more faster pace in the next 5 years. We'll be able to do much more things in the future with the sort of tech we have and the sort of infrastructure we have in the next 5 years.
We have to wrap up, but now that we're just touched on Bitcoin, let's share the time that we most regret spending or selling our Bitcoin. When it happened, what was the price of Bitcoin, and what did we use it for?
Well, I got paid in Bitcoin quite often, and when I had to pay for my life expenses, I have to use the Bitcoin, so I cash it out. So I think one of the biggest loss was to buy a car last year, which cost few Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin price was at 6K, so now this would be probably one of the top of the line Rolls Royce, but that's okay, no problem. The car did its job too.
It's alright, you can still buy a Bitcoin now and keep it for the next 5 years. For myself, we have not sold our Bitcoins yet, so we are just taking it to take loan. Staking for other USDT or other loans to invest in other things. So we never sold our Bitcoin until now.
Yeah. I've always been very bullish on Bitcoin. Last year when I first got to Dubai, everything was so exciting and there were so many things to do. And I blinked and I had a $20,000 Amex bill and I paid it off with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was about just under $20,000, I believe, at the time. And so I very much regret that decision.
Time to swipe your card to buy back some Bitcoins?
I've reaccumulated since then. Thank you so much, guys, for this amazing panel. And if you have any questions for our panelists, please come up to us afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Rico. Thank you, Matthias.